Hello and welcome to Sustainability Matters. This is our third Sustainability Matters webinar and we're very glad to have you with us. It's great to have you here. This theme of this webinar is the circular economy. It's the last of our Sustainability Matters webinars this year and we hope you will enjoy it as much as we've enjoyed bringing them to you. I'm Emma Hopkins. I'm the Sustainable Business Officer at Daraban Council. And before we proceed, I'd just like to do an acknowledgement of country. I acknowledge the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people, who are the traditional owners of the land. I recognise their continuing connection to land, water and culture. I pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. And as I said in our last webinar, I think there's so much we can learn from the traditional owners of this land when it comes to sustainability. For tens of thousands of years, they've been able to live and sustain the resource base that they depend on. And that's something we in contemporary Australia are certainly struggling to do. And I think the topic of circular economy is very much around enabling us and helping us to move in that direction. Sustainability Matters has moved online this year, care of COVID-19, but we're still working with the tradition of bringing the stories of businesses who are doing great things in this space locally to you. Throughout this webinar, we want to encourage you to get engaged. So there's a few ways that we want you to do that. We have our chat option, and through the chat option, we want you to put your visions of what sustainable business in Daraban looks like or could like through to our two artists we'll introduce shortly, Maria and Beck, and they'll be transforming your vision into a 3D sculpture. We want you to use the Q&A function and put your questions through to the presenters that we'll be hearing from. And please upvote those questions that you think are most important and you most want answered. And we've got some polls that we'll be doing as well. As I've said in our previous webinars, please be patient with us. This is our third webinar we've ever run. Each time we're trying to bring you new content and new ways of exploring the issues. So the technical issues are a little bit more advanced, and whilst we've done a lot of testing, sometimes the internet connections fail. So please be patient and we'll do the best job we can. We've got over 150 people registered for today's event, which is absolutely fantastic. And care of that, we've got your cameras and microphones off. But as I said before, this doesn't mean we don't want to hear from you. We do. We want you to put your vision through the chat function and put the @ symbol at the front so Maria and Beck can know that it is your vision. And we want to hear what your questions are so I can put them to our presenters. I'm just going to give a brief outline now of what we're going to cover today. So first of all, we'll be meeting our local artists, Maria Coviello and Beck James. And then we'll be watching a video in which we hear from some of our businesses that are really doing amazing stuff in the space of circular economy. Series Fair Food. So for those of you that were at our last webinar, we heard from Chris Ennis there. Moon Rabbit, we heard from Mahira at our last webinar also, who is working with Moon Rabbit. The Northgate Bake Shop, Charles Sanford and McKay Joinery, who we heard from in our first webinar, and Mokapan Suntory Coffee and A Little Light. After hearing from these businesses via video, we'll hear from Stephen Webster, General Manager of Integrated Recycling. And we'll watch Matthew McGain do live sketching as I ask Stephen some questions. And then it'll be your chance to put your questions to Stephen. We'll then be hearing from Tyranny Paris, co-owner of the Northgate Bake Shop and founder of the Daraban Zero Waste Business Network. You'll have a chance to put your questions through to Tyranny after she gives us a short presentation. I'll run through a few of our sustainable business programs and put up some slides with some content that was asked for in feedback from previous sessions about business stats and the businesses that have participated in these webinars. We'll have a final visit to Maria and Beck to see what they've created with your visions that you're going to be putting through. And then I'll do a quick wrap up. And please, at the end of this webinar, we'd love you to fill in the feedback form, which will pop up. And as an incentive to do so, we've got a $100 voucher for the Enviro Shop that's up for grabs as a random survey prize. I'd like to now thank the state government for their support for these Sustainability Matters webinars. It's been very generous and enabled us to do things that we weren't able to do otherwise. And we'll move across now, and I'd like to introduce Maria and Beck, who are our local artists who are going to transform your vision of what sustainable business in Daraban could look like. So please don't forget, through the chat function, put your vision through, type it in, use the @ symbol at the front, and Maria and Beck can turn their magic and create it into a 3D sculpture. Welcome, Maria and Beck.
Hi, thanks, Emma.
Could you just, as you can see, Maria and Beck are standing in front of what they actually created last week with the visions that came through. Maria and Beck, could you just both tell us a bit about the materials you're using and where you source them from, and give us an overview of what you've worked on and created last week?
Sure. So last week there was this really strong theme coming out about circular economy, which ties in really nicely to this week. And so Beck and I are using materials that we sourced from Reverse Art Truck and Resource Rescue. And they find ways of repurposing things that would have otherwise gone into landfill like this. And we put them together in this kind of sculpture of sorts. Do you want to talk through it, Beck?
Sure. We made an installation with the idea of having the natural landscape and then more of an environmentally friendly way of, going about things for the future. So we'd like to hear your visions. Can you see it okay there? From last week. We're going to actually,
great.
Yeah, we're going to develop it along this week with the circular economy theme. So please tell us your ideas.
Yeah, so I can't see any visions in the chat at the moment, but please start typing. Put the @ symbol at the front of your vision and share that with Maria and Beck so they can get working. And Maria and Beck, did you want to tell us about how you want us to approach looking at this vision of sustainable business in Daraban?
Yes, please. So if we were with you in person, then we would have had some really crazy goggles for you to put on. But we're just going to ask for you to put on your green tinted glasses and think about what it is. So and how to think about what your vision of a sustainable business in Daraban looks like or should look like.
Great. Well, we'll look forward to seeing what you create. And yeah, please type your visions in now and share them with Maria and Beck. Thank you, Maria and Beck. We'll come back to you later and enjoy what you've created.
Thanks, Emma.
Now, before we hear via video from those businesses that I mentioned before, I'm just going to do a couple of short polls, and these polls are really valuable for us. They help us get a sense of you, the audience, where you're at, and both where you're at in terms of where you work, live, and also where you're at in terms of the circular economy. So our first poll now is just asking you if you own a business or run an organisation, if you work for a business or organisation or did so prior to COVID-19, if you live in Daraban, work in Daraban, or none of the above. And if you can just tick those boxes that are relevant to you, that would be great. And our second poll is on the circular economy, which will pop up in a moment. And if you can let us know, is your business already operating in the circular economy? Do you produce waste products in your business or home that other businesses might be able to use? Would you be interested in using other waste products that businesses are creating within your business or home? And do you regularly buy products made from recycled materials? And on the last point, something that Stephen Webster, who we'll be hearing from today, shared with me was, and it's really stuck in my mind, that unless we're buying products with recycled material, we're not really recycling, we're just stockpiling. So I think it's a really important thing to consider when we want to participate or create a circular economy. Okay, if you click on the polls tab, you'll see the results coming through. So it looks like quite a few of you own or run or work a bit in a business and live or work in Daraban. Great, thanks so much for doing those polls. And that's fantastic. 9 of you are already operating in the circular economy, and many of you have got waste products that you think other businesses could use, and many, even more of you, are interested in using other businesses' waste products. And heaps of you buy products with recycled material content. That's fantastic. Thanks again for doing those polls. I'd like to now introduce our circular economy video, where we're going to be hearing from the businesses I mentioned earlier who are doing some great things in this space. Some of these businesses we've already heard from in our Sustainability Matters webinars, and they are Series Fair Food, Moon Rabbit, Charles Sanford and McKay Joinery, and some of them one of them you'll be hearing from today. That's the Northcote Bake Shop, and the other two are Mokapan, now called Suntory Coffee, and A Little Light. So we'll hear from these businesses now.
We see ourselves part of a natural economy rather than an industrial economy. And so the things that we want to do are around creating a circular flow. Series Fair Food is an online grocery, and we deliver organic produce and groceries all around Melbourne. Being a social enterprise, I guess Fair Food, we like to put it this way, we like to do something good at every stage of the food chain. We source all our food from organic, sustainable, regenerative growers. Whether it's a small farmer who's just starting up, and whether they're bringing us a couple of crates of produce, or someone who's been around for 30 years and one of the bigger growers, what we want to do is put our buying dollar behind people who are doing work with the environment, whether it's farming or making a grocery item that's regenerative, that's going to leave their land or the environment in a better state than they found it. And I think that's one of the biggest things anyone can do as a consumer. One of our farmers, Alex at Abundance Farm, he takes veggie scraps from us. When he brings his eggs in to drop off, he'll go home with a bunch of food scraps that he'll feed to his chickens. And so it's kind of like, eggs in, food scraps out, eggs back in, so that we're keeping that loop going. Our soil that we used from our microgreens, once it's grown a crop of microgreens, it's taken by another farmer who uses that soil to put on and enrich his soil. And then he brings his produce back. So there's this coming and going circular economy that we're trying to create.
The cafe is here to inject much needed funds into underfunded community programs that we run here. We're also really, really passionate about sustainability and reducing our impact on the environment. We mainly serve jaffles here, so the first thing I had to source was some locally made bread. The first supplier I approached wouldn't send the bread to me in fabric bags. Northcote Bake Shop came through.
We choose to recycle our packaging and our food waste because we want to be a part of, the bigger picture in terms of sustainability.
Now all of our bread arrives in fabric bags, which we wash, air dry and send back to them, and the system just rolls around beautifully. I would say to really get talking to businesses surrounding you in different industries as well, not just the ones in the same industry, and really just start to look at your daily operations.
We do bespoke joinery. It's usually builders and architects and designers that we work for. One of the businesses we met through the Greenlight program was Mokapan Coffee. They get rid of a lot of Hessian bags, and we thought we had a use for those, and it turned out to be the case. So we use those for packing, and we use them over and over again.
I've always tried to reuse, to fix, to make things. And that's part of what I love to do as well as what I believe in. Since being part of the Daraban Council's Sustainability Matters event, we've really connected with a couple of other local businesses to reduce our use of soft plastics and to use their waste material. We've connected with Elk and with X Cuisine, and we're taking their office cardboard and paper and reusing it for all of our packaging, which cuts down on their waste, cuts down on their recycling bills, and significantly reduces our use of soft plastics through bubble wrap.
I think what I love about working at this cafe is that we make it fun and we make it a challenge within our team to constantly be looking at our processes and picking up things that we use on a daily basis and always thinking about how we could do it differently or how we could give something a second life and who in our local community could help us do that.
And we're now finding that it's really opening a conversation with our customers.
Every time we go there and we talk to our customers about it, they, they embrace us and they want more and they want us to do more.
My employees come up with ideas and suggestions, they offer research. It's a really collaborative thing that sort of permeated, well, not just my relationship in my workshop, but our relationship with neighbours of sharing resources as well.
I hope you found that video as inspiring as I did, and I have, working with those businesses. And I think one of the things that I see again and again is each time a business enters and works in the circular economy, that the relationships they build, both business to business relationships, business to customer relationships, business within a business and their staff relationships, they just grow, and there's this really lovely synergy of all these relationships strengthening and growing, and I think that places businesses in a much more resilient and a much more positive space. So it's been one of the themes that we saw in that video, but it's definitely also been one of the themes that I've seen come out in working with these businesses. And on the theme of circular economy, I'd now like to introduce Stephen Webster, General Manager of Integrated Recycling. So welcome, Stephen. And Integrated Recycling is a company that only operates in the circular economy. They're doing some really great stuff there. We're just waiting for Stephen to join us. So while Stephen joins us, I'd like to introduce Matt McGain from Sketch Group. So Matthew's going to be live sketching for us while Stephen talks about some of the things that Integrated Recycling are doing. Welcome, Matthew. We've got Matthew on paper. Fantastic. And let's see if we can bring Stephen back. Hello, Stephen. Hello, Matt.
Hi, Emma. Technology has not been our friend today.
No. Well, you just don't know with technology. It can do lots of things. So while we're waiting for Stephen to join us, I'll just share a little bit about Integrated Recycling. They're a company, as I said before, that operates only in the circular economy. They take plastic waste, one of the most difficult wastes that we currently have for finding a new use for and recycling and markets for, and they turn them into a range of really great products. So Stephen, you probably heard that intro. Welcome.
Thanks, Emma. Well, thank you. I finally got here, and thank you so much for inviting me to be part of Sustainability Matters.
I think your business is just perfect and a perfect fit for this theme of the circular economy. So we're going to say goodbye to Matt for now, but we're going to be watching his hand as he does some amazing live sketching while I ask Stephen some questions and Stephen answers it. So Stephen, I just gave a very, very brief intro about Integrated Recycling. But can you tell us a bit more about the company, where you're located, what you do, and how many staff you employ?
Sure. Integrated Recycling is dispersed across 3 sites. I'm in Melbourne. The factory that manufactures our recycled plastic products is in Mildura, and I have a team, our sales team, based in Adelaide. And one of the benefits of COVID-19 is the accelerated use of video conferencing, and we're significantly better connected now than we were 3 months ago. There are only 15 of us in integrated recycling, but we're part of a larger company where we have we recycle a lot of plastic film from agriculture that our parent companies make.
Great. And as I have said a couple of times now, you're a business that only operates in the circular economy. Can you tell us a bit more about the waste materials you take in and what you turn them into, and what the environmental impact of what you do is?
Sure. We take a range of, because the factory's in Mildura, we take a range of agricultural plastics and some industrial plastics, and we have that covers such things as agricultural films used to cover grapevines or to wrap cotton. It covers tanks and irrigation pipes that have reached the end of their life, and also a lot of polystyrene is part of our patented mix. So we have an arrangement with the local Mildura landfill where they stream polystyrene separately and bring it to us, and then we use it as an ingredient in making our products. So those products, we turn all those components into a material that can make a high-performing, load-bearing product, and enables us to make a range of products from outdoor furniture, bollards, retaining walls, right through to the Duratrack railway sleeper.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I know you're very excited about the Duratrack railway sleepers. That could be a huge opportunity and market for you, plus huge environmental benefits.
Well, going on to the environmental benefits, we take about 90 to 100 tonnes of polystyrene a year, and that would otherwise represent about 2,000 cubic metres of landfill taken up. So it then becomes, one of our key ingredients. And the agricultural films and hard plastics that we take would otherwise be disposed of in a variety of ways that may not be all that environmentally friendly. But for us, it's a resource that we can then turn into that range of products.
Yeah. And I know the other day when we were talking, Stephen, I made the mistake of asking you what waste materials you take in, and you rightly corrected me and said, we don't think of them as waste materials, we think of them as resources. And I think that is the kind of thinking that needs to shift in all of our minds, that it's seeing the resource in everything that's sitting there, even if it's a byproduct of another process or industry.
Correct.
I know you faced barriers, and some big barriers, getting your business off the ground and growing it. And circular economy is still, unfortunately, a relatively new area. Would be great if that wasn't the case. But can you share with us what some of those barriers have been and how you've overcome them?
So the business is about 15 years old, and it's probably the initial barrier, and one we still face, is people understanding how our products perform in relation to more traditional materials. Fortunately, we have been around for a while, and as have others, and people understand a little more now about the validity and quality of recycled plastic products. So that's an initial barrier. So that's generally overcome by science. So testing, proper data from authorised testing authorities that people can relate to, and then ensure that the product then performs. It allows them the comfort to try the product. The other barrier is understanding a whole of life cost and not just a price. We've seen the consequence of just buying cheapest from China. We now have a waste problem in Australia because we are now we've lost the capacity to convert a lot of material into a resource for reuse. So buying the cheapest isn't necessarily the right way to go, because the whole of life performance needs to be taken into account. So understanding those points is really critical in the success of our business.
I really, I like both of those points. I think they're really important. But I really like how integrated recycling has worked with universities and other organisations to do some of that R&D in order to do that testing that you've talked about, and the rigorous testing to to give customers the confidence that the products that you're providing will meet their standards and their requirements. Can you tell us a little bit about how you form those relationships with the universities to do that research, and what the outcomes for your company have been?
Sure. So we work both with Monash University and the University of Melbourne. In the railway sleeper space, there's an institute at Monash called the Institute of Railway Technology, which is a leading institute in Australia and one of the leading institutes in the world. And that's been pretty easy. They're the people that you go to if you want to help test and advise on railway sleeper products. So we have worked with them and with the help of the state government through Sustainability Victoria and research and development grants that have enabled that work to go on. And we're currently have a research and development grant working with them to test the sleepers in track. And separately, we have a research and development grant with the University of Melbourne on the development of a noise wall barrier made from recycled plastic material. So our material has lots of different uses, and that's a new research base for us.
And I am sure that there are businesses participating today who would love the opportunity to work with universities. Can you just briefly talk us through, how did you make that happen?
We made it happen through Sustainability Victoria. They have a series of grants available for research and development or for demonstration projects. I made the connection initially with Monash University and said, I am looking to run tests on this material to see whether it can meet the performance requirements of railways. Are you interested if we can secure some funding to do so? And they are very happy to participate in that. And that then has built on itself to allow further development and further research grants in this area. And because of that work, University of Melbourne approached us on noise wall barriers because they knew what we had achieved in the railway space.
Yeah, that's great. And just for local businesses, one of the ways you can connect with our local tertiary institutions is through what's called the NISP. So that's the Northern Industry Student Placement Program. And at the end, I'll have a slide up with details about that. So there are opportunities to tap into. Obviously, you can talk to Sustainability Victoria, but you can also look at getting student placements to help you do some of that research in your own business. Now, I'm just going to encourage everyone, soon I'll be opening up to the questions from all of you that have joined us. So please put your questions in through the Q&A tab, type them down the bottom. If there's questions that other people are putting in that you really want answered and asked, upvote those questions. So Stephen, what would your tips be for others who want to join the circular economy or grow it?
Probably the two key things that we've found in our experience is that you can innovate yourself, and we have created a number of innovative products, but that only gets you so far. You need to have the collaboration of the end user to be able to trial, test, and want to work with you in helping develop that product. So I think starting out, you've got to understand what success looks like. And for me, it's developing a business that is both environmentally and economically sustainable. That then generates jobs and generates a momentum that allows us to continue to reinvest in the business and work collaboratively, whether it's with the railway operators or the major road operators or the major engineering companies to continue to develop our product.
And again, it's that theme of relationships, and it's
Very
interesting.
much so.
Every time I embark on the circular economy and hear about it, it's a consistent theme that it not only gives you the opportunity to build relationships, but you're basically saying you need those relationships. Has it been hard to find businesses which are going to be the end users of your product that are willing to invest in that relationship building and the testing, or has
Yes.
it been easy?
No, look, it's not easy. And the other thing you do need is patience, because it's frustrating. We've been on the track, if you pardon the pun, of railway sleepers for over 5 years now. And yes, we've got sleepers in trial with Queensland Rail and Metro Trains and V-Line, and but we haven't got to the final stage of what's known as type approval in the rail industry, the final tick off for supply, because it takes a long time to ensure, when you're working in a safety conscious environment like rail, that the material is going to perform in the way they want it to perform. They understand concrete and steel and timber, but not so something like plastic. So there's a reassurance element that just takes a long time. So forging those relationships at the start is really important while you're developing the product.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Stephen. We've got a question from Lena. She said, "This is a great company. Are there many other companies doing a similar thing? Can you speak for other companies that you know of operating the circular economy? Let's focus on taking waste plastic products, and polystyrene is one of the most difficult.
Yes.
Are there any other companies that you know of that are taking plastic and polystyrene in particular in Australia and doing something with it to remanufacture it into a product that other people want to buy and want to use?"
Yeah, there are a couple of other Australian manufacturers, particularly in Victoria and in South Australia. There are some other companies, but there's no one I know of reusing polystyrene in the way that we do. Most polystyrene, if it is being reused, is being shipped to Malaysia or China still.
Yeah,
to be turned into picture frames and things.
I love too how you alluded earlier and mentioned how the parent company, you're taking the waste that the parent company's product would otherwise create, I think you were saying, with your films.
So some of the agricultural films that our parent company makes, like table grape vine covers or cotton wrap or silage film, not that there's a lot of silage up in Mildura, because that's in the dairy areas, but the other two are predominant up there, and we take those films once the farmers have finished with them, and we collect, I don't know, hundreds, if not thousands of tons of that material a year to turn into our products.
Yeah.
And there were some fairly not so kosher ways of that product being got rid of at the end of its life before we came along.
Yeah, it's really a strong product stewardship model, isn't it? That you're producing a product and then you're committed to taking that product back to remanufacturing it into a product that other people can use and want. So
that's also the theme that came out in your film, that the locality of the businesses there, taking from neighbouring businesses and reusing it. And in Mildura, we become the hub, if you like, of the reuse of polystyrene from the council, from the polystyrene box manufacturer, from the growers, from pharmacies, from retail, and we can reuse all that material. So it becomes an informal circular economy.
Yeah, which is, again, fantastic, and so many wonderful relationships supporting and co-working with each other. There's a couple of other questions that have come through. What level of customer research is involved in creating such products, Stephen?
We do. There are a couple of answers to that. If it's something technical like the railway sleeper, we need a lot of specifications and standards which didn't exist originally in that area to be able to develop a product. If it's for local government or the water authorities, then they usually come to us with a product in mind and ask whether we're able to make it for them. And Parks Victoria is a perfect example where we developed a modular canoe launcher that could be used on riverways for all abilities to be able to launch their canoe into the river and then get back out of the river.
Yeah, so I guess if businesses are out there thinking, I want a product and I can't find it in the market at the moment, in the circular economy market, they're the businesses that can come and have that conversation with you and say, could you make this?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And we'll say whether we can or can't pretty quickly.
Yeah. There's a great question from Tina. How long do your products last? What happens to them at the end of their life?
So at the end of their life, which we haven't got to with any of our products yet, we can reuse. We can take that material back and reuse it to make new products. Our sleepers are rated for 50 years, and our normal products, our landscaping products, outdoor furniture, bollards, decking, that sort of product, we give it a 40-year lifespan, but we think that it could easily last longer.
Fantastic. So the circular economy continues with the, taking your product back. Phil's got a question. Is your recycled material suitable as feedstock for 3D printing and additive for manufacturing? i.e. do you process it in granules or powder form?
No, we don't. We don't go down to that. We're a little bit more rustic and agricultural in the way we make our products, so that we don't need to go down to that very fine granular form before we re-extrude the product into the shapes that we need.
Yeah. And Robert's got a question. Do you have a depot in Daraban where we can give you polystyrene or plastic? Which is the question that I have explored and asked you as well. So I'll let you answer that.
No, we don't. It's polystyrene's difficult because you need to get it to be dense enough to transport it. So it's okay if you're doing it locally, and we have a compactor truck that goes around and collects it, or the council brings it to us. But in that expanded form, there's almost no weight in it. And we've got to then knock out about 98% of its air to get it down to a granular form that we can use.
Yeah, so I think the answer to that is no. It would be fantastic if we did, but what you need to have happen to it is for it to be condensed. So we need a drop-off point where somebody condenses it so it's practical to then transport it.
Like the Geelong disability people that do it down in Geelong for that region. And they take a vast amount of polystyrene, they densify it, and sometimes we take material from them, otherwise they ship it overseas.
Yeah, and I know companies like Terra Madre, who via video we've heard of through this webinar series, used to have their own compactor of polystyrene that creates a dense product, and they used to put their polystyrene boxes through that. So it's technology that's around and
it is.
We need some entrepreneur that's going to pick up that opportunity, and I'm sure plenty of people would be happy to offload their polystyrene at no cost if someone could turn it into the type of feedstock that you need. Great, thank you so much, Stephen. Now, I think if we can get Matt back on screen, and thank you to all those people that put their questions in. He was going to talk us through his sketch, but we'll just see. We did have a few technical issues with Matt just at the last minute before today's webinar. So I'll give him one moment to see if Matt's going to return. And if not, I hope that you got to enjoy the sketch as it was being done. When we were doing the testing for this, I was really impressed with how Matt could capture the essence of what Stephen was speaking about so succinctly.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too.
Yeah.
So the great unveil is not happening.
Yeah. We might return to Matt at the end if we can get him back online. But once again, thanks so much, Stephen. It's integrated recycling is doing some amazing work, and it's really taking one of the most problematic and common waste streams. So that we have, we just have an inordinate amount of plastics, and turning them into some great products. So I'm looking forward to some of those products coming into Daraban and our parklands and our other areas. So fingers crossed that will happen.
Thanks, Emma.
Okay.
Thank you for having me today.
Thank you, Stephen. We're going to quickly now revisit Maria and Beck and just see what they've been up to with your vision. So don't forget, under the chat function, please type in your visions to them of what sustainable business in Daraban looks like or could look like. And even if they don't get to make it, we would love to hear. We'd love to hear what those visions are. So thanks so much. And let's have a look at what you've created, Maria and Beck, so far.
Hello.
Again?
So, I mean, the detail is a bit hard to show here without us knocking things over. But we've had some really beautiful phrases come out in this. And one of the ones that we're really loving is that sense of sharing knowledge and connecting people to sustainable businesses. It's often a matter of, well, how did you find out about that? Or so we're trying to sort of tie in this circular economy that we've mapped out here, and trying to make it a clear sort of journey that we're going on.
Yeah, we've basically got a natural resources area that will be here, going on to the product going into the like here we've got our little green factories and the design manufacturing, which comes to the retailers. Here the retailers, and we are connecting with our sustainable customers, and then we've got the our products. We've got recycling area and going back into circle.
Great, thanks so much. I'll look forward to seeing what happens at the end. So thank you to those people that have put their visions through, and for those of you that haven't, please type away. Thanks, Maria and Beck.
Thanks, Emma.
I'd now like to introduce Tyranny Paris, who's the co-owner of the Northcote Bake Shop and founder of the Daraban Zero Waste Business Network. Hello, Tyranny. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Emma.
Tyranny's a person who's kept me on my toes. She's incredibly passionate and forever pushing us to do more and think about new ways of doing things and new projects. So she's going to talk to us now about a few different things she's working on at the moment, and then we'll have time to put questions to Tyranny. Thank you, Tyranny.
Hi, everyone. I'm really excited to be here today. So just a little bit about myself. So my name's Tyranny. Together with my husband, own the Northcote Bake Shop. I started the Daraban Waste Business Network last year to see if there was a possibility that businesses can transfer or give their waste to another business. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that now. I'll just go to the next slide. So pretty much the Daraban Zero Waste Business Network, the way it works is it's just a Facebook group. So you go on there as a business and you put forward your waste products. So in one case, there was a cafe who had a stack of Hessian sacks because they make lots of things with potatoes. So they jumped on and they said, hey, can anyone take, 10 Hessian sacks? Another business was able to come and say, yep, I'm able to take that. And then what eventually happens is you connect a business to a business and eventually just saving it from landfill. And the idea is to connect businesses so they have a contact. So now the cafe will just contact the gardening business and say, hey, we've got 10 Hessian sacks. Can you come pick it up? Or they'll do maybe like a weekly delivery every Wednesday. So it's pretty much just one type of business saying that they have a particular product that would go to waste otherwise, and another business coming on board and saying, yep, they're able to take it. So that's pretty much the Daraban Zero Waste Business Network and how it works. So the second thing I wanted to talk to you guys today was how we at the Northcote Bake Shop are taking back the reusable cups after COVID-19. So initially we got told just kind of maybe hold back on offering this service. So what we are now able to do is we're able to take the customer's cup, we put it on this little board, we take it and then we give it to the barista. The barista runs a shot of coffee into a cup, pours it into this cup, does the milk, puts it back onto the tray. We then take the tray to the customer with their coffee. We bring the board back. Then we have a chucks cloth, which we just sanitize the board with, and that's ready to go. So we have about 3 of these boards rotating at any one time. And that's how we've been able to implement the cups back. So we have also spoken to a few other cafes. There are at the moment 32 cafes offering locals the ability to bring their cups back. and hopefully more, as they feel comfortable, will come on board in doing so. But this way is the generic way of doing it that we found with the cafe's feedback as well. And so lastly, I just want to talk to you guys about a new project that we are working on. It has been in the works for a tiny bit of time. We started this project last year and COVID-19 just shut it down really, really quickly. But it's called the Wang and Cut Project. And so what this is going to do and what it's aiming to do is create a new system for cafes to pretty much reduce and eliminate their takeaway cups. So it's going to start as a pilot program. So 10 cafes are on board, and so we'll all have cups. We'll all have keep cups in a particular color and with this particular logo. And so what happens is a customer will come, for whatever reason, they'll forget their cup or they want to try this cup system. They'll get the cup, and then they can now return it to any of the 10 participating cafes and then get a new cup. So the idea being, even if you forget your cup, that's fine. You can be in this program, and you can go to any of the cafes and pick up a cup and return a cup. So hopefully in the next little while, we'll be able to launch this project, and I'm really, really looking forward to all of us small businesses and cafes not using takeaway cups. Thanks, Emma.
Thanks, Tyranny, and thanks for sharing a couple of the projects you're currently working on with us. So, Tyranny, I really wanted to ask you the question about COVID-19 and the impact that it's had on your business. I know that you've responded in some really innovative ways and changed the way you've done things. Could you share that with all of us, the impacts it's had and what you've done?
So we are a bakery offering, like we were a bakery cafe. So the cafe side had to completely close, and our wholesale, because we wholesale to local cafes and restaurants, they also, many of them closed. So we pretty much just turned the bakery into like a little retail store. We had to kind of just figure that out really, really quickly, what we needed to do and how we needed to get there. So in the first weeks of, I think, April, we just got together with the team and just said, okay, what are we going to do? How are we going to get through this? And the best approach was just to turn it into a mini grocery store now. So we sell, anything ranging from like our bread to flour to butter. So I kind of put all the things that we like. Peanut butter and things like that, all our favorite things we've put on there. So yeah, so now I guess we're a retail bakery. And I think it's hard. All businesses are just trying to figure out who they are at the moment, who they're going to be until all the restrictions come off. But I guess every business just has to figure that out. And then once they do, you kind of just keep moving forward.
Yeah, great. And I'm just going to remind people it's your chance too to put questions to Tyranny. So please use the Q&A function, type in your question below. If there's a rush of questions, don't forget to upvote the ones that you want most answered. Tyranny, I know in addition to changing the way you sold products and the types of products that you sold, you also introduced a delivery service, which you hadn't previously had. Would you like to just talk us through that?
Yeah, so we figured out a lot of our customers weren't able to come to the bakery, didn't feel safe to do so. So we kind of just implemented the delivery system really quickly just to get to them. And that's been great because there's a lot of people self-isolating. A lot of people have elderly parents that they often buy bread for, and it's been really great. So, for those who aren't able to come to us, we've been able to go to them.
Yeah, great. And another thing that I really love that you introduced, you're a person who's very committed to community and building relationships and partnerships, which is so fundamental to the circular economy. But you set up the Northcote Fairfield Thornbury Takeaway Facebook group. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how that's worked and and helped not only your own business get through COVID-19, but also others?
Yeah, so we pretty much, there was on the North Care Good Karma Facebook group, a local pretty much just said, what can we do to support small business? And, you know, just as a small business, I said, you know, you just got to keep, you got to keep supporting us, because without you guys, we are pretty much all going to close our doors. So together we were able to come up with the Northcote, Fairfield, Thornbury takeaway, which has been implemented in different parts of Daraban as well. So it's pretty much just another platform where small businesses are able to say if they're open, if they're doing takeaway, if they're doing delivery, and how they're doing that. Yeah, so it's just getting the message to our locals. And I think there's about 7,000 people on there at the moment. Businesses have been able to really promote themselves. And the thing is, Emma, I actually, you know, I was thinking about this the other day, and I often just go to my, you know, you've got your local pizza shop, you've got your local fish and chip shop, but I didn't know that we had all these beautiful other businesses. You know, I went to have Malaysian at Mera for the first time, and I you know, experienced so many more. And I often think that, so with this website, with this group, I think it's really opened my eyes, and I think a lot of other locals, to say, hey, let's see what we have in here. And we've got a really good group of businesses in Northcote, Thornbury and Fairfield, and Preston Reservoir. Yeah, it's good to support local at the moment, support your local business, because we really, really need you.
Yeah, great. Now there's a question here from Prachi. Could you and would you scale this to takeaway containers too? So she, I think, is talking about the Wang and Project, the reusable cup project.
Yeah, so with the initial idea of it being a pilot, I think that there is scope to do containers. We have based the Wang and Cut Project on a project that Monash University has done. So yeah, if this project works, and I'm hoping that it does, we could definitely scale this up to containers. We could get another team who, you know, to come on board or to take on the project and to do that. But yeah, definitely we could do that. And so the Wang and Project is a free service, yeah? So it's not, you don't have to pay anything, you just bring back your cup, you take another cup. Yeah, so the containers, if we were to do the containers, it would be of a similar system.
Yeah, and would you like to tell us how come it's able to be a free service, Tyranny?
Yes, so we are very lucky. The Daraban Council have come on board and were able to assist us in purchasing 1,000 cups. So yeah, we are very grateful, and if it works, maybe the Daraban Council can buy us a stack of containers as well. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. We have to get the numbers first to show that the project works, and that, you know, it's saving how many containers we can save from landfill, etc. But yeah, definitely, hopefully that could be a possibility.
Great. Well, thanks so much, Tyranny. Sorry we don't have time for any more, but we have a well done to you for finding a way to resume using reusable cups. So thanks so much for joining us. And you can always go and chat to Tyranny in the Northcote Bake Shop. She'd be very happy to talk to you, and no doubt she'll give you lots of great ideas and take your ideas and run with them. I'm going to talk quickly now just about some of the sustainable business programs at Daraban Council. As I mentioned in our last webinar, we've got our business recycling bins. So if you are watching this webinar, you're a Daraban business and you don't have one of these bins, please consider getting one. It's less than $100 for a one-off charge. They go out to curbside fortnightly, and you can put all your commingled recycling in that you would in your curbside recycling. So it's paper, cardboard, hard plastics, metals and glass. We have, when it comes to waste and the circular economy, we always need to think not just about materials waste, but about energy waste. We've got our LightSmart program, which I've been plugging throughout these webinars. At the moment, LightSmart upgrades of free LED lights for businesses are available to Daraban businesses. and in most cases it will be free. So there's so much opportunity here. We've had 250 businesses upgrade their lights already through LightSmart. The average saving they're seeing on their electricity bill is $240 a year. So please take this action. It's a really simple one. It's a great thing to help build your business resilience, especially in times like COVID-19 where your finances are really impacted on. I also want to give you some stats. So we had in our feedback at our last webinar a request that I provide some information on how many businesses are participating in these programs. So we've got 822 businesses currently have our 240 litre Daraban recycling bin, and we hope if any of you are watching and you're a Daraban business and don't, that number will go up as soon as you leave this webinar. We have 250 businesses that have upgraded their lights to LED through the LightSmart program, and that's over 17,000 lights that have been changed, which is over $500,000 a year in total electricity savings. So there's so much opportunity in energy efficiency. It reduces your energy costs and it reduces your CO2 emissions. That's 3,500 tonnes of CO2 abated each year, care of this program. We've got over 110 businesses that we know of who've installed solar, and those system sizes vary from 1.5 kilowatts up to 400 kilowatt system. So that's some key stats for us. The next thing that I wanted to share with you is, again, a request that came out of our feedback to list all the businesses that we've heard from in this webinar series and to identify whether they have solar and whether they lease or they own their building. So I know when you're a tenant, it can seem as though solar is a more difficult thing to put onto your roof. And for those of you that saw Jo from A Little Light talk in our first webinar on the video, she made the comment that she regrets she didn't really do the sums when she was renting a property, because she could have easily paid back her solar system in the time that her lease ran for. So you'll see here Series Fair Food, EnviroShop, Moonrabbit and Bridge Daraban and Showworks, Terra Madre all have solar and they all lease their buildings. So it is possible to do, even though there can be additional barriers. A Little Light, Exquisine, Charles Sanford and McKay Joinery all have solar, but they own their buildings. And then Integrated Recycling, Mokapan Suntory Coffee and Northcote Bake Shop don't have solar and they all lease their buildings. So again, that was a request from our feedback and we really value that feedback. So please, at the end of this webinar, continue to provide yours. There's two more programs. There's one more that I want to talk to you about that's a Daraban program. So that's encouraging you to go to our Sustainable Business playlist, which is under the City of Daraban YouTube page. You've heard from some of our businesses via videos. We have full videos on those businesses under this Sustainable Business playlist. Please go there, have a look at them, get inspired and find out more about what they're doing. The recordings of these webinars will also be there. We've already got the first webinar up there and the other two will be up there shortly. They'll also be available through our City of Daraban Big Market channel. And now two programs that aren't Daraban programs, but I mentioned the first one earlier, NIST, so Northern Industry Student Placement Program. Stephen really highlighted to people the value of partnering with tertiary institutions to do research and development. And if you're a business or organisation in Daraban that would like to tap into this, you can do so through the Northern Industry Student Placement Program. The other program I want to talk to you about is a Sustainability Victoria program that I actually just read about last night. It's the Buy Recycled directory that they're launching. And this is a directory in which if you're a business watching and you sell a product with recycled content, please list it in this directory if it's made in Victoria. And this directory will be used at the moment by state and local governments as a buying guide, and hopefully in the future it will be available to businesses. So that's some of the key things from me. And I'd like to now quickly jump back to Maria and Beck and see what they've created. And we'll have a look. Thank you, Maria and Beck.
Hi again.
Hi. So just very quickly, because I know we're short on time, this is what we've come up with. And I know you can't see a great deal of detail in here, but one of the ideas behind this project was to bring a sense of play into reusing materials that would have otherwise have gone to landfill. So I think someone asked a question about whether they were toilet rolls. They're not actually. They're old cotton reels. Whoops, just knocked everything over. Old cotton spools. So they're really great for making lots of things. So if you have kids, you'll know that they tend to use anything they can and create something else with it. So we've had some really great feedback, and thanks everyone for your comments and your suggestions. And I guess what we've got here is we've just pulled out comments from the last 2 webinars. We've put them in here, and from that we've just created what we believe is this utopian circular economy.
Great. Thank you so much. And I'll look forward to getting to look at it in a great deal of detail. And hopefully we'll find a way to share this sculpture in some sort of public forum so people can come up and inspect it. And thank you to all of you who have entered and written what your visions are. We really appreciate that. Thanks, Maria and Beck.
Thanks, Emma.
So I'd like now just to do a quick wrap up. I'd like to thank once again the state government for their support. They've enabled us to do things in this webinar series that we wouldn't have otherwise been able to do, and we greatly appreciate that. I'd like to remind people we really value your feedback. It has helped inform what we put up in these webinars and how we run them. And please take the time to fill in the feedback survey that will pop up in a moment on your screen. As an incentive, we've got a $100 voucher up for grabs as a random draw, and that's to the Enviro shop. And congratulations to Miranda from the Melbourne Farmers Markets, who won the random draw last week for last week's webinar. She was the lucky winner. Thank you once again to our business presenters that have joined us, to Matt from Sketch Group, to Beck and Maria. And most of all, thank you to you for joining us today, for watching, and I'm looking forward to hearing about all the amazing things you continue to do in your lives and your businesses. And I hope you enjoy this beautiful afternoon, and please don't forget to leave. Don't forget to fill in our survey before you leave. We really wanted to bring you Matt McGain's final sketch of integrated recycling, and apologies that technical issues and internet glitches didn't do it during the webinar, but we've brought it to you at the end of it. So please, I'd like you to hear now from Matt, who's going to talk us through the sketch that he did and what integrated recycling is doing in the circular economy. Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, Emma. So I've got the drawing tool here. I'm just going to draw on the sketch. So I did cheat a little bit. At the start, I actually drew this little caricature of Stephen before the webinar started so that I could kind of get on the front foot and not be playing catch up. And I'm glad that Stephen thought that it was a flattering caricature. So initially I heard him talk about the company and his operations in Mildura, Melbourne and Adelaide. I don't know if my geography is great there, but he then shared with us how he'd used these products, polystyrene foam, pipes, agricultural plastics, and turn them into outdoor furniture and bollards and potentially railway sleepers, which I found super inspiring. Then Emma asked him about the kinds of barriers he hit, and the two that jumped out for me were the fact that he had consumers or potential customers comparing his products to other products that weren't sustainably produced, and that the way that they combated that was through science and testing, and trying to get people to think about the whole of life cost of the product so that we can try and change this mindset of the cheapest is the best. Stephen then went on to talk a little bit about R&D and the work that he's done with the universities and how he managed to get some grants through Sustainability Victoria, and finally finished with some tips. And the tips that jumped out for me was, the big one was the fact that innovation only gets you so far. So for Stephen, asking the question, what does success look like? His business is basically one that is built upon collaboration and that is both environmentally and financially sustainable, which, you know, is just super inspiring, and I thought was a wonderful way to finish that conversation. Thanks, Emma.
Thanks so much, Matt. It's great to see what you've captured and been able to summarise there. And thanks again to all of you who've participated in the Sustainability Matters and our webinar series this year. It's been great to have you with us. I hope you've been as inspired as I have by the stories of local businesses who are doing some really amazing stuff in this space. And we would love to hear from you about the stuff you're doing and to support you on your sustainability journeys. So stay connected with us, and we'll look forward to catching up soon. Thank you. Bye.